This one particular podcast is going to be really, you have spent more than a decade at Meta. What made you think that, no, okay, I need to come out of this comfort zone, take a risk, and try to solve a bigger problem?
Thing. This is the thing that is going to be defining how our society interacts in the future.
Every blockchain that I see is kind of positioning itself into in a niche category.
We can build transparent, fair, decentralized on-chain systems, tokenize assets onto those systems, and then see those assets trade at very high speed.
What is like 2-3 general problem that you can say that most of the L1s are struggling? And have you ever faced a kind of a comparison between Sui and Aptos, because both of you have the same DNA? Is there anything that is not yet public, but when you're like kind of very excited about that particular thing that might come in near future, and why these institutions are suddenly finding Aptos to be the right platform? How this technology, maybe Aptos, can really help India to grow? Do you feel that there were elements of doubt in your journey at Aptos? So I don't know if your products are ahead of time or you planned it after that incident.
I probably have nothing to do with those incidents.
Hyperliquid success makes you feel that it makes you feel bullish.
Perps is a very unique crypto trading primitive. It does something that doesn't exist in traditional markets today, right? You have options, you have contracts, but you don't have perps.
What are those factors that you want people to look at while evaluating blockchains? How well Aptos is placed when it comes to this AI revenue?
Decentralization is going to be the key factor toward unlocking this data value, not just for those entities.
Do you believe that privacy is basic, fundamental right of everyone? Billions of people are using blockchain. How it's really going to change the life of an average human? I mean, how you think that Aptos, let's take an example, reaches to their maximum goal, and they say, okay, like we are there, what we had envisioned, like, I mean, how it's going to change my life on an average person? Welcome to another episode of Betting, and today I have a very familiar face, Avery Ching, co-founder of Aptos. I know a lot of people must have. So those who have not heard about Aptos, by the way, have recently heard about it because of the Aptos and Geo, partnership. And most of the mainstream media was very bullish about it. It was all over the newspapers, and congratulations for you for a good PR, because every media outlet kind of covered it. And those who are not aware about Aptos probably were like, okay, there is this Aptos and what this partnership is all about. So obviously we'll talk about this partnership at the end of the show. But those who are like in Web3 and those who already know about Aptos, this one particular podcast is going to be really amazing, because I can promise you that this is like non-scripted. There were few questions that were in my heart. I wanted to keep it very real and organic. And before the starting of this podcast, I asked Avery that I want to keep it like very real, because there are some genuine questions from my community, because I did this internal questionnaire. I asked my team to just float around and get the real question that people want to ask, right? And obviously we will not talk about the pricing, but obviously the overall because the discussion that we'll have today will get you a better understanding what are the major announcements that have happened recently, in case you missed it, and what are the future plans, and what is the current problem in the ecosystem, right? That is also we're going to discuss, because there are number of L1s, number of L2s. I mean, we will talk about that as well. So I'm sure, Avery, first of all, welcome once again. We met last time at IPW, and before we start this conversation, most of the people in India want to ask, what is the secret of you being so handsome, so smart? I mean, they want to ask that question.
And I think you actually asked it before the podcast. Like I said, if you ever find the answer, let me know, because I could use some of that. Yeah, I mean, as you know, the life in crypto is very tough. You work 24/7. It's non-stop, and I couldn't ask for it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. So Avery, to begin with, I want to ask a very straightforward question. I mean, you recently saw that while using an internet, maybe I don't know if it happened with you or not. While you were scrolling down on your Twitter feed or maybe something, you figured out that internet is not working or my Twitter is not working, and then you said, okay, the Cloudflare is down, and then you were like, oh my god, this is exactly the problem that we are solving. Was there a moment that made you kind of like, yes, what I'm doing today is something that I really believed in? This is the exact problem that we are trying to solve. And you just called up your team members and said, this is exactly, guys, what we are solving. What was the feeling like recently? Because it happened just day before yesterday.
I mean, it's been happening. We've had advertisements for the last
Mm,
like month and
mm,
beyond for why we need new cloud infrastructure, new cloud solutions. At the beginning of the year, we partnered with Jump Crypto, kind of
mm,
behind closed doors, and been building in kind of private repos toward an idea that cloud infrastructure is about to
mm,
change.
mm,
Today's clouds are going to have outages, and that's expected. That's normal.
mm,
And we saw that happen a couple weeks ago with AWS, and then Azure, and then Cloudflare today, right? And so the systems of tomorrow, the what we call distributed systems, which have been built at Google, at Facebook, places all worked before in the past, are going to be decentralized. And they have to be decentralized because they serve an important need, which is that as these clouds go down, you don't want your data service to be down. You don't want United to be down. You don't want your air traffic controllers to be down when you're trying to
mm,
land planes. You have to have a system that's always up and ready and running. And that's what we're really trying to solve with Shelby being the first hot real-time decentralized storage is always available, always
mm,
accessible, even if a cloud goes down. Not only that, it's
mm.
going to be cheaper, faster, more scalable, and kind of built in the best blockchain infrastructure on the planet.
Right. Oh, awesome. So, Avery, to begin with, I mean, you have spent more than a decade at Meta.
Mm.
Because people who are listening it for the first time, Avery was with Meta for more than a decade, and he was like acting as a working as a senior position at Libra. So, if you can just tell us, because I know you've spoken about it many times, but most of the people would have been like comfortable in their job at Meta. Comfortable job, comfortable lifestyle. I'm sure you must be earning a lot. What made you think that no, okay, I need to come out of this comfort zone, take a risk, and try to solve some a bigger problem? If you could just throw some light on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think one that a lot of people struggle with who work at,
Mm,
very very good jobs, and
mm,
Meta is no exception. I was there for
mm,
10 years. Every year, like brought new challenges. I worked in the infrastructure. One day we were processing
mm,
a petabyte of data a day. Then it was 10 petabytes, then 100 petabytes, then exabytes. Working on hundreds of servers, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of servers, and these problems are incredibly fulfilling for an engineer. Like to be able to solve scale, to have this issue where the user base is growing so fast and so rapidly. You have more than 1 million people per engineer in Facebook at the time, and that was
mm,
something we're always very proud of. The fact we get done with so much, so many things done with so few people. And when I joined the Libra project, I think that really opened my eyes. I think to what technology could do, because before it was about scalability, about supporting applications and supporting these new use cases in the Web 2 space, which was really fulfilling. But in crypto, you really are solving challenges that are touching every part of the world: consumers, applications, infrastructure. And I think that was just like fascinating. And again, I think this is really the next generation of decentralized distributed systems. And so I see it as the next evolution. I don't think people have really caught on to that yet. But that is kind of, I think, what was really enticing to me. And then, when you can see like the future, you can see like, well, look, this is the next thing. This is the thing that is going to be defining how our society interacts in the future, how we transact with each other, how we transfer money. All the agents in the world will be leveraging decentralized infrastructure in order to trade assets around the world at very, very high speeds, much more than any humans can. So we have what, 9 billion people in the world or something like that. Agents will trade at a factor of like 100x more than that. And so that will be like a massive amount of infrastructure necessary to build. And look, you have kind of one chance in your career to do something really exciting and have fun. And I think Web3 is the perfect place for that.
right, right. Awesome. Uh, so every what I've seen is ultimately I don't know if blockchains intentionally wanted to do that, but now every blockchain that I see is kind of positioning itself into in a niche category, right? Some are claiming so like for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it's a different ballgame. It's the community. Now they say, okay, Bitcoin is the global monetary standard, Ethereum is this global settlement layer. Now different foundations are bringing in different narratives. Like they're saying they're the best in the payment and fintech. Somebody's saying they're the best in the throughput. Somebody's saying that they're the asset engine of the world. uh, does Aptos has a positioning? Are they also trying, or do they have this punchline where they like kind of define themselves in one line? And if there is, do you believe in that?
I do. I mean, I helped define it, so I definitely believe in it. I think at the beginning of the year, I took on the role of CEO and stepped back a little bit and said, "What are we? What are we building? Why are we building this?" And it became very clear, like the blockchains are meant to move assets and trade assets extremely
Mm,
efficiently, and actually
mm,
support the use cases that not only the crypto exchanges kind of support today, but also even non-crypto exchanges, traditional exchanges, what
mm,
NASDAQ and OSC do, all could be done much more efficiently and effectively and much more transparently and fair on a blockchain. And I think people don't really realize that because we were so used to transacting on these centralized exchanges, being used to having our trades front run in different places. That's just part of our everyday thinking. But the reality is it doesn't need to be the way things are. We don't have those systems where there's unequal access, where certain actors have advantages, others disadvantage, and some don't have access. We can build transparent, fair, decentralized on-chain systems, tokenize assets onto those systems, and then see those assets trade at very high speeds and worldwide with global liquidity.
hmm. All right. So you feel, you know, as what you said, many blockchains today also try to claim the same thing. I mean, they
Mhm.
that is the reason today we see more than close to 400 L1s are there and close to 150 L2s are there. I mean, you go on CoinGecko and you see the number of coins that are listed under L1s and L2s, and you kind of figure out, oh my God, in last 8 years, we have close to 600 different layers in N1 and L2 trying to solve that one problem. You think that in 8 years, and going by the time that in 8 years, if we've reached to this level and the industry has not even started many claims, what do you think is the future? Is like one winner taking everything, or you think there are going to be millions of chain? What is the kind of future that you look into it, and where you are placed?
I think this year the trajectory changed. I think my thinking a lot. So we saw regulation in the U.S. start to pass. We saw the
Hmm,
Stable Exchanges Acts pass. We saw market structure bills pass. I myself had the fortunate opportunity to testify in favor of the Clarity Act at a House Agricultural Committee in the
hmm,
in the Congress. And so, those things kind of led way to IPOs for crypto companies happening in America, Circle and Gemini and many others to come.
hmm,
And so what we saw was regulation led way to financial markets opening up for crypto. And then I think now chains like, Arc and Tempo from Stripe are starting to pick up. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the future. So the future to me is going to be very interesting where blockchain infrastructure is kind of set to take on massive adoption.
hmm,
A lot of companies and enterprises and governments and different kinds of entities will start to launch their own chains. And I think that's actually very, very promising
hmm,
because it will bring a lot of interest and excitement to the space. And our technology is actually well suited to help others assist in that with our namespaces product. Um, Also, scale is going to be very important. We work with Geo. I think we mentioned that earlier. Geo's
hmm.
got 500 million telco customers.
Yeah.
They have properties in every single thing we could imagine, whether it's Hotstar, finance, so many different divisions, oil,
Hmm,
that they want to be able to tie these businesses together through blockchain transparency and fairness. Those properties, I think, are going to drive a lot of adoption for crypto in the coming days, and I think it's okay that we have a lot of L1s and L2s. I think that people are going to explore and expand. But I think if you also peel back the surface, you have to kind of look and see who's got a strong thesis in the space. Our thesis is very solid on global trading is the most important thing in the world, and we're building everything in that infrastructure toward that process. We have our own custom language called Move. We're building the Aptos VM to be the best trading VM in the world. Our consensus protocol is supporting fairness. We have encrypting transactions so that nobody can be sandwich attacked or front run in the process. So you have the people that kind of claim a narrative or claim a space,
hmm,
but are they kind of doing the work necessary to drive the adoption there? And
hmm.
that is really important. That's, I think, a key differentiator between what Aptos is doing and others that might say that they're playing the same space.
So, what according to you is the major problem? Obviously, I'm not mm, asking you to pinpoint on any chain, but what is like two, three general problem that you can say that most of the L1s are struggling today?
I think it's actually defining the narrative, as you said, and really understanding what their thesis is. What is why did you build this chain? What
Hmm.
was your aim and ambition? I think in the past, a lot of it has been hype cycles and people, trying to jump from narrative to narrative to narrative. Oh, we're doing gaming today, we're doing AI tomorrow, we're doing this. What is your actual thesis in the space? And actually, are you building product and infrastructure to support that thesis? And I think that actually there are very few that have that kind of strong conviction. That's why you kind of see people and projects kind of moving around very quickly. For us, we're very, very set. This is the path forward. You have to have a very good, trouble efficient global trading platform. You see that market is already generating $50+ billion a year in crypto industries alone, not including the non-crypto industries. This is a clear area for disruption, and one that we are poised really, really well to succeed in, given our technology, our background, and our desire to win.
Right. Okay. Has this happened? Like, I mean, somebody just came up to you and said, okay, you and Sui, like, I mean, they kind of started their journey together with the same mission. And now look at Sui, the kind of narrative they have. They're quite successful in various metrics. And have you ever faced a kind of a comparison between Sui and Aptos, because both of you have the same DNA, and you probably it was for the first time that industry actually saw a new structure, that things can be built on a different non EVM, and you actually redefined the future of how a new layer will look like. I mean, do you feel that that comparison is not like kind of justified, and you guys are like still friends and you have a regular interaction, like, I mean, Sui and Aptos?
I think that there are a lot of different ways to approach the crypto problem, right? And Sui is doing their approach. Um, wish them well, of course. And for us, we've really focused again on what global trading is, and that is the core focus for everything. It's why we have so many stable assets on top of Aptos. It's why we've taken move in the direction we have to be very efficient for trading operations. Why we implement block STM. I mean, there's a lot of differentiating technology of what we have versus Sui, but not just Sui versus any other blockchain out there. We're the fastest by block times, the fastest by finality. We have the lowest cost in the market by far, more than 20 to 1,000 times cheaper than Solana for moving USDT or any stablecoin or asset around on the blockchain. And that, I think, is our real edge when it comes to performance, latency, costs, and I think all those things lead to better adoption, and ultimately more use cases. Right, like working with Geo needs to work with an Aptos because their scale is tremendous and they're extremely cost sensitive, and this is something we excel in. And the future technology of those trading things are going to be built on Aptos because we have the best product and technology in the market to support customer needs that aren't being fulfilled today.
So you think that in the long term, uh, Aptos is going to be the choice if somebody is trying to build on Move?
I think it's less about move. Honestly, I don't think the language is that important. It's what you want to do with the language that's important, right? So
Mm.
it's the same thing like with any programming language. It's like, okay, what can I do with Python? No one thinks about like, well, what can I do with Python? They think more like, I want to build a distributed file system, or I want to build a media server. I want to build this, and then you think about what's the best tool for the job. So you don't start with the language. The language is not the starting point. That's never been the case in computer science, and it never should be. It should be about what is my end goal, my application, the user need I want to serve, and then like what's the best tool for the job. And I think when it comes to assets moving around, trading of those assets, and then ultimately all the derivatives of that, which are substantial, because if you can trade assets extremely fast, if you can start to manipulate and move your money around, you can do all kinds of things. You can build loyalty points, programs, tokenization. You could have DPIN. I think we'll get to that. That's what Shelby is all about. Ultimately, DPIN is just big, fast payment rails for different kinds of actors interacting in different kind of economic value propositions. And so all the derivatives of what trading engines can do is what Aptos will excel in. And I think no one else is going to compete in that market with us.
Hmm. Can you like, maybe because this is like for our audience, there are few things that are public, that
Mhm.
you keep announcing your partnerships, your recent developments. Is there anything that that is not yet public, but when you're like kind of very excited about that particular thing that might come in near future, which is like you and your team, whenever you look at this thing and they said, oh, it's unbelievable that we were able to achieve this. Is there something which is there, which you can maybe throw some light on it?
I mean, there are a lot of interesting product features and technological advancements I think
Mhm.
that Aptos can claim for. Our Move is used, our version of Move is used so in so many different blockchains. The
Mhm.
blockchain sim techniques we pioneered are used in so many blockchains today. A lot of the consensus mechanisms that we developed and pioneered, some of those features are kind of used in other products. And I think, it's very hard to actually find a blockchain that Aptos has not influenced in some way, shape, or form. So that's something I think that's probably not well known by a lot of people in the community, but our products are what we want to be known for. We're building out a new exchange called Decibel, the first fully on-chain decentralized exchange that's going to support spot,
Mhm.
perps, and have the performance of a Binance out there, but full transparency and openness. But yet it's supporting trading features that are going to be far superior to what centralized exchanges can do today with the fairness and transparency aspects. We have Shelby, which is the first foray into cloud infrastructure. First of all, a hot storage infrastructure, but one that's going to support the entire data lifecycle of management of files and storage, right? So that is something that's extremely exciting for me because I worked in this space for a long time. I have a PhD in supercomputing. I worked on distributed file systems, parallel file systems for the largest machines in the world, and the opportunity to kind of see that play together now with the new AI workloads, the massive amounts of inference and training that are going to be happening in the future. I mean, there's more than there's trillions of dollars literally being spent on AI hardware today in the next coming years. And that hardware is going to have to crunch a lot of data. And the data will be stored on projects like Shelby that are accessible to not only like traditional clusters, but also neoclouds, and funneling that data and bringing them to the compute so they can crunch the LLM models really quickly. They can do inference really quickly and support pre-processing of that data using LLMs as well. So all those kind of use cases I think are very exciting for us. And I don't know if people see it yet, but this is clearly the future to me, that decentralized data, compute, storage, the kind of deconstructed AWS stack is going to be extremely important in the future of AI and generally cloud computing.
Mhm. Even recently, I've seen that there has been a spike in the institutional interest on Aptos. I mean, especially the BlackRock Biddle Fund. Uh, if you can just talk about the rising, institutional interest in Aptos and why you think that suddenly, I'm sure you've been working on this thing, and gradually now you're seeing the results coming in. What makes you more, excited about it, and why these institutions are suddenly finding Aptos to be the right platform to deploy their, tokens, or to make, to choose it as a perfect platform for their real world assets? I mean, what is one thing that makes you more excited?
I think the aspect that comes out here most is just trust. Like people, when they talk to us, they kind of know our brand, they know what we stand for, they know the people behind the project. We're not a bunch of anons. We're real people, like working at the office every day. And in our background, I think, in our pedigree is something that people look forward to working with from institutional and kind of an enterprise background. So BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, Apollo were all investors into Aptos, and they also, no surprise, wanted to see Aptos used as an enterprise infrastructure for tokenizing their assets. The Biddle Fund, yeah, moved recently about $500 million a couple weeks ago into the
Yeah.
Aptos side. We've also, like I said, seen tremendous amounts of U.S. assets flowing in. We're the number one move chain by stablecoins.
Mhm.
We have USDT, USDC, USDE, PYUSD, USD1, and then I think just today we announced USDG coming to Aptos as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a very natural home for a lot of institutional assets coming on board. And then, of course, once we have those institutional assets on board, trading them becomes a real simple process given our infrastructure and our expertise there.
Amazing. Now coming to the most important question, and I'm sure in India people are very excited about it, but I have an element of doubt as well, and I like to discuss that as well. But before that, the bullish news, the Geo Aptos partnership. I mean, if you can just take us through, what does this partnership mean? And well, like, you guys were like working on it for some time, and eventually it came out nicely. If you can just tell us more about the partnership beyond those media headlines and those articles.
We met the Geo team actually quite a while ago, over a year ago, and they kind of came to us and shared their challenge and their scale. And of course, it's something we got really excited about because we were built for massive adoption, and Geo has that with their 500 million subscribers or more. And of course, as you know, they're coming up on a very large IPO, probably in
Yeah.
2026. Probably one of the largest IPOs, if not the largest IPO of all time in India.
Yeah, yeah.
And for us, they're very cost sensitive. They're very interested in scale. They want to see real adoption, and I think GeoCoin is that first kind of step of adoption where people use the Geo browser, can kind of get rewards with GeoCoin, and they kind of transfer those rewards across different geo properties over time. And it's really exciting to see a large enterprise like Geo taking Web3 and really putting it the core centerpiece of a lot of their product experiences and saying, this is something that we're going to bet on, double down on. And I think it's actually a very leading position across the world. You don't see a lot of large enterprises taking this stance yet. They will. But Geo to take that stance from such a large enterprise side and of course in India where there was a huge population of users
Mhm.
is a tremendous step forward for the industry in general.
So, what do you think? I mean, when they have reached out to you, what they really want to do? Are they looking forward to build some maybe a DApp, or they said, okay, we want to build a reward program? I mean, what is the requirement? If you can just tell us more about that.
I think the requirements were we need to support scale. Like that's something that's very important to us.
Mm.
We want to have this reward program. It's first with the Geo browser and GeoCoin, but eventually expand to other products. And we want to make this the first step of many, many more things to come in Web3. So those are the things I think that got us all very excited about this partnership. And we've been to India multiple times to chat. They've come to visit us as well in the States. And I think it's a very fantastic partnership and meeting of the minds where we have shared ambitions, goals, and want to see that Web3 achieve real use cases and real adoption in the largest use cases in the world.
Did they ever try to learn how stable coins are built on chain?
Stablecoins definitely are something I think of interest in general across all large enterprises, the Geo included. And we've definitely shared all our learnings that we could with everybody that we know,
Mhm.
given that we have so many stablecoins issued on top of Aptos, and we will see, of course, many more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure because Geo has this Geo coin, and because they made this announcement like maybe a year back, not much has happened on it because I don't see that it has gone mainstream. But maybe in future they have plan of coming something around GeoCoin. Maybe if regulatory clarity comes in. How do you see Avery? Have you ever? Uh, I mean, I really want you to have, because since you have this huge experience and you were part of this all these bills and debates that happen in US. If given an opportunity, or I don't know if you've already got an opportunity to discuss with the regulators or bureaucrats or policymakers about how we can really grow this industry and what is the potential of it for India. You, from your perspective, if you have to maybe say some few things about the potential, how this technology, maybe Aptos, can really help India to grow. If you can just tell us the ways it can really help India to grow to next level.
There are definitely many ways. I think the democratization of access to financial products is the number one way. That's kind of the ability for anyone to interact on the blockchain, trade for different assets, support kind of this whole neo-banking primitives where you get paid in crypto or you convert to crypto, you earn yield in that crypto, you then invest those assets into other crypto assets, whether it's going to be LPing into different pools or kind of taking long-term strategies with AI bots in the future, and then kind of being able to spend an off ramp with crypto or using crypto integrated the same way. UPI is so prevalent across all of India.
Yeah,
It's such an
yeah.
amazing product. Crypto can be the same way integrated or integrated alongside UPI in those products. And so I think it's a tremendously valuable tool in democratization of financial products for not just India, but of course the world. India, especially though, given like the broad swath of so much land and so many people that need to
Mm.
transact in this open system. The other thing I think that's tremendously valuable is like the sheer number of developers. We've got more than like 1,000 developers
Mm.
last year who've been building on Aptos in India. I think more than 4,500 in total across the world. But a good many of them are from India and building in India. And this is again a great democratization platform for new ideas, for new projects, for new startups. That's where our kind of work with Hash Emergent and seeing millions of dollars being funneled into the India ecosystem across the talented builders and project developers. We've seen amazing projects like KGen and Stan and Santa Browser.
Mm.
Of course, our partnership with Geo being built. These are products are actually profitable products. They are that, and that unfortunately is extremely rare in Web3,
Yeah.
honestly. But to see that, where KGen is almost on 100, plans toward $100 million ARR, in such a short period of time, and Stan also on his way towards huge amounts of revenue in Santa browser as well. Like these projects are kind of shaping, defining what Web3 is supposed to look like. Large amounts of revenue generation, new economic models, new access to customers, and decentralized technology to really enable different kinds of payment models and economic flows that are just aren't possible in today's infrastructure.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, I mean, Naresh, actually, under his leadership, I mean, I saw that you guys had this developer program when where you kind of gave it like a Netflix kind of a feel, where you were taking interviews and you were like, I mean, Shark Tank kind of a.
It was
Program.
versus
I think that that was quite a success, and I believe that it should be an every year affair. Every year, I think that's really going to do well.
we hold this IIT Winter School every year, and we've also kind of combined, I think, with the Shark Tank themes, and I think also making the process well documented. So as an advertisement toward new developers, but also I think it adds a little bit of flavor and fun to the developers who are building the space. I've also come on and talked to developers, and we've turned into clips. We've had other guest speakers come on, give advice. I think Ishant from Cajun did that one day, and so it's just a great way for community to come together, to feel that sense of like we're building together, and also like you're part of something bigger. And that I think is always encouraging to any
Mm,
kind of developers or kind of entrepreneurs that are looking to innovate in the space.
mm. So, most people think that everything is going nice and everything is going smooth for Aptos, but I'm sure at the background there must have been moments where, while trying to solve something very complex, you must have felt like, I really don't know if you'll be able to do that, or there was an element of doubt, or the team said no, we can't do it. Do you feel that there were elements of doubt, like, in your journey at Aptos, and you were like, yeah, there were a couple of them, and I'm glad that it took a little time, but finally we overcame that. And I think that's a challenging thing, and that's the culture that we try to build at Aptos, that never get bogged down and try to do things that should be beyond imagination.
Oh, many moments. I think we challenge ourselves definitely, even on after our first fundraiser. We're like, we're going to try to get the mainnet in 8 months. And that seemed like an insane goal at the time. And there were definitely many moments where we thought, we might not make it, we're not sure. But
Mm,
we pulled together, we worked every second of every day, and we executed like I've never seen execution before in the past. I'm not sure I'll ever see again. And was able to ship that mainnet in 8 months, which is just incredible.
mm,
I'm not sure that feat can ever be repeated again, but it was an incredible amount of productivity in a short period of time. Just one example. Another thing we've often explored, like, you can build an exchange that is, mostly decentralized. Some parts that are not decentralized, and some parts are centralized, especially the matching engines. We've seen a lot of players in the space do that, whether it's going to be like, Hyperliquid is closed source, or you have a Aster and Lighter, which are also kind of centralized component backends. And we're like, we think that full transparency could be something that would really be valued by users towards an aspect of growing trust in the products that we build. And so we've really taken that challenge on. Said, first fully decentralized exchange that really competes with the Binance user customer experience. Like, I think that was something
mm,
that people thought was impossible, that we've really pushed hard on. I think the other one was, of course, even in Shelby, could we come build a product compete with traditional cloud services? It seems impossible. But actually, there is a way to make it cheaper and faster and more performant, and then serve a customer base that's even wider than one cloud. And I think that was a challenge that we've
mm.
gratefully accepted, and also pushed very hard on finding a solution where you can be up to even 4x cheaper than AWS if you do a lot of reads. I think that's a really cool
Uh,
result.
so there's already a market for it, and now there's a proof that recent outage and recent downfall was now is telling you that
Free
when
advertisements every week, yeah, coming in for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah, it's
and in
amazing.
fact, even the liquidation that happened on centralized exchanges, I mean,
Yes.
that again is, so I don't know if your products are ahead of time or you planned it after that incident.
I promise you, nothing to do with those incidents. We're not taking down clouds. We're not involved in any kind of exchange activity that goes
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
We
No,
thought these are the right things to work on. These are the problems that we see in front of us, and the
yeah, yeah,
opportunities in the
absolutely.
space that are just tremendous.
Hyperliquid success makes you feel that that it makes you feel bullish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It shows that there is a willingness and a want for people to use decentralized products. and that growth is gonna grow the entire pie, right? And so it's not like we just have one centralized exchange out there. We have, Binance and Bybit and BitGet and OKX and Coinbase and Kraken. There's so many exchanges that have different kind of customer bases, slightly different use cases. We're going to see the same thing in decentralized exchanges. In fact, the product experience will be even more, I think, distinguishable over time as we start to build in all kinds of unique features. And perps is a very unique crypto trading primitive. It does something that doesn't exist in traditional markets today, right? You have options, you have contracts, but you don't have perps. And I think you're going to see the kind of evolution of these products over time that are going to be very novel, very disruptive,
Mm.
and very innovative. And so I think this is just the beginning of what exchange products will look like. But it is
Yeah.
extremely bullish that people are excited about these products, using them, and getting value out of them. That utility is extremely important. And if you look at the crypto products they've gotten utility and value add, they all kind of gravitate towards some kind of exchange of value. And that's why, again, we're very bullish on being the global trading engine. That is the most important thing we should be building here in the market. And that's what we're 100% focused on.
I'm sure you keep getting these DMs and on social media when Aptos to the moon, and when it's going to break its all-time high and stuff like that. I'm not asking you to get into the price this thing, but if you want to tell your audience, those who are listening to it, that there is, what are the factors that you look at beyond price, and eventually price follows all these metrics, and what are those factors that you want people to look at while evaluating blockchains?
I think people should move away from the idea of fees as blockchain revenue. I think that that's a horrible way to think about blockchain revenue. I think it was a tax on application developers, right? So if you want to build your business, you're looking to see, like, and you're thinking about which country to build in. You're looking at, like, what are my tax rates? What is my business opportunity here? How egregious is the government in taking away some of my profits? And that's, I think, the way to think about it. Not to think like, wow, the U.S. government charges, X amount of dollars for every dollar of revenue that you bring in, and therefore, like, that's a good thing. The U.S. government runs a deficit, okay? And what makes the U.S. valuable is not the fact that the government runs a deficit; it's the fact that Facebook and Tesla and Nvidia and Amazon are all housed there. That's what makes it valuable. The business is built on the infrastructure what makes it valuable. And so that, I think, is the right focus. And to see businesses that are self-sustaining, that are revenue generating, like the Cajuns and Stands and Santa Browsers and others on Aptos that are creating real revenue, real businesses, and have people using their products and getting a lot of utility and value on that, I think, is the most important metric. And that's why we're building on things like Shelby and Decibel. Those are revenue generating products. Those are products that have customer adoption, that will have users and actual utility built towards on chain just happens to be there. But the ultimate product is solving a customer need and pain point that people are willing to pay for.
I want your last few comments that I want you to tell us that trillions are coming into AI.
Mm-hmm.
In US, we are seeing that all the progress that is happening in AI is in US, and trillions are entering into the stock markets, AI-based stocks, magnificent seven companies, including Meta. You think that at some point of time, the trillions that are entering into the centralized AI system is ultimately gonna come into decentralized AI, or AI that is being built on chain? What do you see the future, and how well Aptos is placed when it comes to this AI revolution that we are listening to?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think the real advantage of these companies is their data moat, right? The fact that Facebook has data that Google doesn't have, or the fact that Google has Facebook data that Facebook doesn't have, right? The models themselves are kind of converging in terms of their differentiation from each other, and as every generation the models kind of are built, the differences are kind of less and less between them. The amount of money that people are spending on the hardware is increasing rapidly. Like I said, I think there are trillions of dollars being spent on AI hardware in the coming years. And this is where I get very, very excited, because to me, decentralization is going to be the key factor toward unlocking this data value, not just for those entities, but towards larger sets of training and also inference. I'll give you an example. Today, I get for providing my data to Facebook, whether my likes or comments in Instagram, or my usage in Messenger, I get the advantage of using the product for free. I think that's the thing I get, right? But imagine I could also take that data and I could then offer that data towards other services, right? And monetize my information. And you can do that on top of Shelby. You can do that with the Aptos blockchain and using payment primitives and kind of contracts. And now this opens up my data not just for one vendor, but for many. And I think that revolution is going to be tremendously valuable for people and for new industries and kind of other aspects, and kind of taking the data almost out of these entities and providing that data towards a larger number of potential buyers. And I think that's going to be tremendously transformed with Shelby, with Aptos payments infrastructure, and kind of with decentralization technology in general.
And last but not the least, I want your opinion on the revival of this conversation that uh, privacy is fundamental to everyone. And this narrative of privacy, especially the recent success of Zcash and overall the privacy as a narrative has really picked up. Do you believe that privacy is basic, fundamental right of everyone? And you believe that Aptos is also ready for that, or believes in that core values? What is your take on this privacy narrative? And you think that it is sustainable and it is the future, that most of the on-chain transactions or people who gonna come on-chain will look for privacy?
I think this is inevitable, and I think it's something that we should embrace and want. Look, we are used to having some privacy today, right?
Mm,
If I go to McDonald's and I buy a burger, you don't know about it. That's just the way it works, right? I mean, yes, the government can go ahead and investigate and figure out I did that, and they can go through my Visa bill. They can look at my bank statement to see how much I paid, all this other stuff like that. But we have general privacy that is kind of inherent across our existing payments infrastructure. We pay with cash, same thing happens, right? The cash is kind of
mm,
not tied back to any particular person. And I think overall, like this is something that we all are used to and kind of want going forward in the future. It has to be done responsibly, though, and this is where regulation comes in. There has to be ways in which regulators can look into, I think, the details of transactions,
mm.
and so we want to be regulatory compliant privacy. Like that's, I think, the key kind of trade off for us at this point in time. And we
Right.
have something called confidential token transfer in Aptos, where you can send a balance of a token to another person. I can send you a balance. You can send me a balance. That balance is actually hidden, and the kind of balances themselves are hidden, so that people won't know exactly how much we transferred from each other. But still, there can be viewing keys in which those can be shared with the proper regulatory bodies and agencies in order to kind of make sure that there's no kind of terrorist
Right.
activity, money laundering, kind of any kind of inappropriate activity that's happening on the blockchain. So I think this is a really good trade-off for this kind of aspect. And the other thing that's worth noting is that these privacy features can be extremely expensive from a cost and a performance standpoint. And so there's a lot of fun innovation and research to be done to kind of build these primitives to be quicker, faster, more inexpensive, so that they can be used practically. Like Zcash today is an amazing technology, but it can't be used in any practical payment system today. It's just too slow. And so there's also problems with something called a nullifier list, which kind of grows, infinitely, and becomes problematic in itself. But so the technology has room to grow as well. But I think the idea of regulatory compliant privacy is definitely the right space for us to play in. And we've already kind of lead the industry in terms of what we're doing with confidential token transfer.
So you think that the future of compliant privacy is great?
Yep, I think it's fantastic.
Okay, all right. Because we are short on time. So last question, Avery, is that if billions of people are using blockchain, how it's really going to change the life of an average human? I mean, how you think that Aptos, let's take an example, reaches to their maximum goal, and they say, okay, like we are there, what we had envisioned, like, I mean, how it's going to change my life on an average person?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say you're an average person, but secondly, I'd say I think it would actually fundamentally impact almost every aspect of your life. Today, you hold cash in your pocket, use credit cards for spending. I suppose you have a bank account, you have some assets, maybe in equity markets or in crypto markets. I see this becoming a big unifying factor across all those different products. And eventually, all these things will happen on chain as opposed to across this disparate set of services that we're used to today. We make those again, these products, you'll have access to worldwide global financial products. You won't be limited to kind of the products only available within your region of the world, and your locale. You'll be able to kind of negotiate the best rates for how you, again, we go back to the way your data is being used. You can negotiate the best rates for how that data is being used and how you want it being used in different products. And I think overall, the ability to kind of swap from currency to currency is going to be extremely fast, cheap, and easy. I mean, we just can't do that today, right? I can't just give you a dollar and we swap to a rupee like instantaneously, right? We don't even have the liquidity to do those trades between the two of us. But on the blockchain, you can do it instantly. You can keep those liquidity pools full, and you can do it for literally under a hundredth of a cent, basically free, right? Like, and that kind of fast enablement is like incredibly valuable when it comes to like, I can keep my assets in any kind of um, destination I want, and then at the point at which I need to convert, I convert, and that's going to create a lot of interesting things, right? So when you think about stable coins today, stable coins are popping up by the dozens. We already named like 6 of them that are Aptos for USD, the US dollar, and you will transact in all these stable coins across different products and suites, but those things will all happen transparently underneath the scenes. We'll just have the digital US dollar, change from one form to another form to another form, all under the covers, and yet be this digital form of money that is available 24/7, that is extremely cheap and fast to move. That can be the currency and the value that we use to buy everything in every service in our lives, and AI products to transform your life. So I expect a full transformation of everything we do in society, from the way we touch payments, from the way we book reservations, to the way that we think about investments and our futures, to be completely different in the next, I see, 5 to 10 years, based on the kind of projection we see as how fast technology is growing, and where it's heading.
Right. Before you leave, one last question, because I'm very excited to meet you actually, because I don't want to leave any question. You said that you were looking at crypto market structure bill and you studied it pretty nicely. There is the concept of digital commodity that a lot of that projects that want to be into that digital commodity, they need to be mature enough. So now,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously now there are different parameters.
That's
You
right.
think Aptos is mature enough to be called as digital commodity in US?
I do. I mean, but I think that my opinion is probably one of many when it comes to the Clarity Act, and so we'll kind of see how the legislation plays out over time. But we'll definitely be a part of the discussion, and I think it's important for us to create the kind of rules that make sense so that people are kind of protected when they think about the proper platforms and infrastructure they want to trust. So I do think that's a very important definition for us to figure out what is a mature blockchain, what is a digital asset standard that makes sense. Also, what is the true definition of decentralization? I think is a very key definition that we really need to think through as a society. And it's not just about how tokens are distributed. It's about where infrastructure is run, who's running the infrastructure, is code open source or closed source available. There's just so many questions to answer, and it's a fantastic academic discussion. But one, if it crypto doesn't indeed transform our lives the way I just described, where it touches every aspect of finance and also like kind of non-financial activity, it's one that we need to define very quickly so that we have the proper consumer protections in place to using this technology responsibly.
Right. Before we leave, this again, last question. Your normie friends who are not in crypto, when they come to you and say, Avery, you are an expert, no? You're building something in this space. Are we in bull market or bear market? Please tell me, yeah, I need to be aware of it. So what do you tell your friends?
I'm not a trader in that sense. I don't take positions. I think in terms of like 5 to 10 years, things will be amazing in this space. Like this is going
All
to
right.
be transformative, and that's what I'll just tell people over and over again.
Thank you very much, Avery, for your time, and looking forward to meet you at IBW.
Same here. Very
Thank
excited.
you. Thank you very much. So, guys, this was Avery, and I'm going to catch him up at IBW, which is in Bangalore. And if you are not coming to Bangalore, guys, I'm seriously telling you, you'll miss something. So on 2nd of December, be there, and you'll get to meet so many personalities, including Avery. So thank you very much, guys.